They're not good enough to start. They're not even good enough to play. But they do talk a good game. So come join Lou and Jose from the sidelines where all the best sports discussions happen anyway. Welcome in to the Benchwarmerz podcast.
Welcome into the program, everybody. I'm Lou Ruggieri, that's Jose Ortiz, and this is the Benchwarmerz podcast. Wherever, whenever, and however you happen to be listening, we appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend it with us. We're going to try to make it worth your while. We've had a great show thus far. Hour one, we talked the top NFL storylines from week 3. We did our confidence meter and our worryometer. We did our favorite new game, Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break. A little bit coming up. We're going to go back to the NFL and talk week 4. We have to make our picks for week 4, kind of evaluate where we're at from 3 weeks into the season. We have our betting segment called Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is, where we talk sports betting. And you can follow us along with all that information on the iHeartRadio podcasting app, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. We are now part of the brand new Amazon podcasting lineup. That's exciting. We're on Facebook, Instagram, at the Benchwarmerz Podcast, Twitter at the BW Pod, email address the Benchwarmerz Podcast at yahoo.com. But now, Jose, we have to talk a little NBA because, it's almost October and it's the finals. Not weird at all. 2020 strikes again. Last we spoke, because this is sort of a once-a-week recording show that we release a couple times. We release both hours during the week. We're watching the Lakers still play the Nuggets, and the Lakers closed out the Nuggets 4-1. The Miami went on to beat the Celtics 4-2, so 6 games in. And I kind of wanted to talk just some initial and brief kind of recaps of those series, and then sort of look ahead towards the Lakers and the Heat, and get your thoughts on that.
Well, the Celtics, I still feel like the Celtics should have won that series. I agree. It's just, I really don't know why. I mean, the only thing I thought of as I was watching Game 6, and I thought of you actually, and I pictured you screaming at Tatum a couple times for shooting 3-pointers. It just felt like the Heat, even though they love shooting threes as well, feels like they still put pressure on the defense by attacking and driving to the basket, forcing the defense to collapse, to rotate, and then allowing the pass out. It feels like, Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, they're just trying to sometimes they move the ball around, but a lot of times they're trying to just kind of do this one-on-one hero ball where they're trying to make the big shot in the guy's face. And sometimes that just doesn't work out a lot, and I think that's the only thing I can really point to, because it didn't feel like the Heat were significantly better. And as far as the Nuggets and the Lakers were clearly the better team. They had the size. Jokic needs to work on his defense, just being more physical in the defensive area. I think, but my thought on Nuggets is this is a great season for them. While I feel disappointed for the Celtics, I didn't picture the Nuggets getting to the Western Conference Finals. So I think this is a great season for them to build off of. They have Will Barton coming back to their team next year, who was a pretty good role player that they didn't have in the postseason run. I don't know what kind of cap space they have or what kind of free agents they can bring in. They need to bring in some defensive toughness, I think, and they'll be good. But yeah.
Yeah, as far as recaps, I think the Nuggets to me were sort of obviously they were the Cinderella team, and I think that they were the biggest proof of how important home court advantage is, because I have a feeling that if they had to play some of these games in opposing stadiums, I don't know that they would have come back from 3-1. Obviously, you never know, but it's hard to believe that against the Clippers, and the Jazz, that they would have come back from both of those games. But who knows? We can't know that. But I do think that the Lakers winning, 4-1, I don't think was an accident. And I say that because LeBron, and thinking about this over the course of the week, LeBron is got a little pettiness in him, but I appreciate it immensely because he is a little spiteful, and he pays attention to he hears everything, and he is not afraid to call people out and say, I heard that. And, I think that watching the Nuggets come back on the Clippers down 3-1, I think LeBron he came out in this series to prove a point and just say, hey, remember when the Clippers were the best team in LA? Okay, well, we're going to stomp the team that you just gave up a 3-1 lead to. And that was something I don't think was a mistake.
I'm going to admit something here. I'm a huge LeBron fan. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge LeBron fan, but I'm also so guilty of taking him for granted. So in the middle of Game 5, take people behind the curtain. In the middle of Game 5, Game 4, I send a text to Lou, say, LeBron hasn't been playing well this series. I just don't know what they're going to do. I feel like he has to step it up. He's really struggling to score. In that game, he scored 26 points, had 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. And I'm looking at him like, wow, why do I hold him to such a high standard? Well, that's a bad game. For the series, I said he was struggling. 27 points a game, 10.4 assists, 9 rebounds. That's a great series. And I have to just remind myself, his level is just great, and sometimes he's amazing. And and it's like, well, when he's just great or very good, it's like, oh God, he only had 27, 9, and 9. I mean, come on, LeBron, give me more. And I have to catch myself, and I think we all have to catch ourselves. I think we all kind of take LeBron for granted and don't appreciate just how good this guy is and just how incredible it is that in 17 seasons he's gone to 10 NBA finals. Yeah, that's incredible, regardless of his finals record.
Yeah, and I'll comment on that in a second. As far as the Heat and Celtics go, the Heat, I feel like the Heat, there was some interesting contrasts that I saw with the Heat and the Clippers, actually, where the Clippers felt like they almost felt like they had this air of entitlement, that it was just sort of a foregone conclusion that it's like, well, clearly we have this depth. And, they kind of drank their own Kool-Aid a little bit, where they were like, well, we have 2 of the best two-way players of all time in NBA history, and we have this, great depth on the bench and everything. And, they sort of just they forgot that they had to win games along the way. While the Heat, on the other hand, I don't think that they have a starter who's a lottery pick. I think the only lottery pick they have is Andre Iguodala, who is barely a role player. And the Heat, Paul George and Jimmy Butler almost seem like they're exact opposites of one another, where Paul George sort of freaks out and kind of implodes at the last 5-6 minutes of the game, and Jimmy Butler feels like he galvanizes his team and just does what needs to be done and doesn't make a big fuss of it. He just goes out. He's like, well, we got to score, so I'm going to score. And it just seems interesting that there's sort of this scrappy, no one gave us a chance kind of team, and versus the Clippers kind of entitled air about them. And I think ultimately it was just attitude that beat the Celtics. I felt like they had more grit, not more talent.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. The Heat play with a level of urgency where they know they don't have any margin of error. They have to go be playing at their best at all times for them to have a chance to win. And yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe some of the Celtics or the Clippers, especially the Clippers in the second round against the Denver Nuggets, wherever you're up 3-1, everyone's telling you you're going to win the championship. Yeah, maybe they just start drinking your own Kool-Aid. I completely agree.
Yeah, and looking ahead to the finals, I mean, it's the return of the king. LeBron comes back. Well, sort of comes back to Miami. I mean, I think it's a little disheartening that there's no home game to see LeBron in the Heat Stadium and kind of get that.
At least it's in Orlando. At least it's close, I guess. Yeah. Well, I don't know how close Orlando is to Miami, honestly. My geography is not great.
And it's still not the same. I mean, but also seeing the Heat and in LA, I mean, it would be interesting too. And this series is very interesting. And I think what you said about LeBron, I mean, he's made 10 NBA finals now. And to think if LeBron, he could be 10-0 in the final. I mean, imagine if LeBron had 10 rings. I mean, there'd be no contest.
There'd be no discussion anymore.
No, that'd be game over. Not Kareem, not Michael, not Magic, not Kobe, not Bird, nobody. LeBron would have almost all of the stat records, and he'd have almost as many rings as Bill Russell. So that'd be game over. And so I kind of wonder if that, having gone to 10 finals now, and having less than half of those be wins. It's hard to fault somebody for making the finals that many times, but it kind of feels like LeBron, it's almost a disappointment in a way of a career.
Well, I depends. That's just the narrative that's been painted by a lot of people. It seems that people, for whatever reason, have diminished the accomplishment of reaching the finals, being the best team in your conference, as opposed to getting eliminated in the first or second round. I do think that he has to win this NBA. They have to win this NBA Finals. This is not, no disrespect to the Heat, but this is not the Golden State Warriors of a few years ago. This is not the San Antonio Spurs with Kawhi Leonard early in his career and Tim Duncan and all those guys. I don't have to name everyone. Yeah. This is kind of equivalent to the Dallas Mavericks series that they didn't win when he was with Miami. And so that, to me, they've got to get this win. But I know on the other side, Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, they're talking to their teams like, this guy left us. This guy left us. And as soon as we lost, this guy left. And we have to show him that our culture and our system is what creates champions. I do think that it's LeBron's been to five. He left in 2014, has been to 5 NBA finals since then. So it's just crazy how good he is. But yeah, he needs this win. He needs to get 4 rings. I think Anthony Davis needs this as well to kind of propel him to that next level of superstardom. The Lakers have to win this one. They're heavy favorites, but it does make me worry about, just because the Heat have been playing as underdogs for this entire postseason, and they are, like you said, a hungry, scrappy team. A lot of really good role players who know their role and play their role very well. And it feels go ahead, Joe.
Well, I think that this season is setting up kind of magically to be, predestined for the Lakers. I hate to say that because the Heat might come along and say, no, it's not. But, with Kobe Bryant passing away tragically, early in the year, and LeBron going to the Lakers and being healthy this year and having everyone be healthy. I mean, this isn't, like you said, they're not playing Golden State Warriors. And more importantly, I think LeBron's not playing with a diminished, depleted, injury-laden squad. It's not him and Matthew Dellavedova going up against Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. And, it's Anthony Davis is probably going to be the best player in the series. And, LeBron, I think, is on a mission in a way that I haven't seen him. It seems like he's more sure of himself this year. It feels like he's willing to just say, hey, you know what? I can take this game over, and that's what I'm going to do. But I will say that the matchups in this series are intriguing, because if there's one player that I think could give Anthony Davis fits, it's going to be Bam Adebayo. And I think that Jimmy Butler, is going to be a real handful for LeBron if they end up matching up against each other, because they're different, but they also, I feel like their strengths and weaknesses sort of match up pretty well against each other.
Yeah, no, I actually think the Lakers' perimeter defense in general, I don't know if they're going to put LeBron specifically on Jimmy Butler right away, because they're going to want to protect LeBron from getting fouls, but whoever is guarding them, and that's the real advantage that I think the Heat bring. Obviously, number 1 and number 2 on the floor, as far as talent, LeBron and Anthony Davis, however you want to rank them. But then after that, it's almost all the Heat players. As much as Kuzma, I like Kuzma, I like Caruso, I like Dwight Howard, I like JaVale McGee, but I don't think any of them are better than Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo or even Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson. These guys, or Goran Dragic, how can I forget about him? They have a solid team. They may not have the top end talent that the Lakers do, but they have that middle talent that, and that's what they've been going up against all postseason, against teams that have better number 1 or number 2 options, but don't have the better number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, or number 7 option. And that's kind of where I think the game is going to end. Anthony Davis is going to have to die. He's going to have to win that battle between Bam Adebayo, because if it ends up being even, then that's advantage Miami, and you don't want that if you're the Lakers.
I think Kyle Kuzma is going to have to be the Tyler Hero of the Lakers and show up. And I do think that if they put Rondo...
Oh, I forgot about Rondo, yep.
Rondo guarding Tyler Hero, I think Rondo as a savvy, kind of just gritty, smack-talking veteran could really get into a 20-year-old Tyler Hero's head, in his first finals. I think that Rondo could really do some mental damage to Hero and kind of get him off his game.
I'd like to see them have Rondo actually start at point guard and have LeBron maybe just play off the ball a little bit.
Yes. Yep.
It's not to say like all the time. I just feel like I don't think I've seen that lineup, and I would really love for them to do that because I think that's their best lineup when Rondo is at the point to me.
Yeah, when LeBron can move and make plays off the ball, and use his unconscionably incredible athleticism. I mean that's going to be the wild card, and I think that Dwight Howard is another wild card, and he needs to come in and kind of take a little pressure off Anthony Davis, battling Bam Adebayo, especially if he does get in foul trouble. It's going to be Dwight Howard to show up and kind of, it makes for a good redemption story for Dwight Howard for sure.
Yeah, we want to see Dwight Howard get that ring, and that might be the area where the Lakers can do what they did to the Nuggets. But you force the Heat to shoot three-pointers. I know the Heat can hit them, but I don't care. I still always rather you shoot a contested three-pointer than you drive into the basket. I'll take that any day of the week, no matter how. It could be Steph Curry. Give me the contested three-pointer over, a driving layup to the basket. And with the trees that they have in the middle of the floor, perhaps they can force them into being a more jump-shooting team.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be an interesting series and an interesting matchup for sure. And
you want to make an official pick? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh well, I would take the Lakers. I think I'm going to say Lakers. I'll say Lakers in 6.
Yeah, that's my pick too. I don't want to disrespect the Heat. I could see this going 2-2, and then the Lakers winning next two games after that. So Lakers in 6. Yep.
All right, cool. So we agree. All right, so that'll do it for our NBA talk. We'll come back obviously once this. One last thing. I mean, as far as the Celtics, like, how do you think the Celtics look back on this season, really quick? Just because, I don't know how they should discuss this.
This is a disappointing season. You had an opportunity to win. The Bucks got eliminated, the favorites. You knock out the Raptors, who were the kind of the second team. The Heat were a team that they should have beat. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm underestimating the Heat. So if I'm the Celtics, I don't know what you do to improve the team. Maybe you just keep them together and hope that they just improve another year. But this was a missed opportunity. I think that's what you look at, a missed opportunity to get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we have to, like I said, because it's a once-a-week show, we got to look ahead to week 4 in the NFL already, so we got to make our picks, kind of recap our picks from the first 3 weeks. We have our sports betting segment, Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is, and we'll have that and a little bit more when we come right back on the Benchwarmerz podcast.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
And now back to the Benchwarmers podcast with Lou and Jose.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. I'm Lou Ruggieri, that's Jose Ortiz, and this is still the Benchwarmers podcast. We appreciate you taking some time to spend it with us. Hopefully you're following along on either the iHeartRadio podcasting app, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, the newly formed Amazon podcasts. You can follow us along on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook and Instagram, we are at the Benchwarmers podcast, Benchwarmers with a Z. We're at Twitter, we are at the BW Pod. Our email address is thebenchwarmerspodcast@yahoo.com. Benchwarmers with a Z for marketing purposes. show has flown by. We've talked the top storylines in NFL Week 3 in the first hour, along with our confidence meter and our worryometer. We played our new favorite game, Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break. And then early this hour, we touched on the NBA Finals and kind of recapped the Celtics and Nuggets losing, and then what we think about the Lakers Heat moving forward. And now, Jose, it's time to move on already to week number 4 in the NFL. And it's time to let's recap our week 3 picks and see where we're at right now. And then we have to make some week 4 picks.
So for the put your money where your mouth is, Lou has won millions of dollars. He's perfect, 3-0. Hopefully you've been betting along with him. I, on the other hand, are 1-2. Last week, Lou took the 49. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Wait, I have the. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah, no. Yeah, last week Lou took the Bengals plus 6.5 over the Eagles, or versus the Eagles, and the Bengals and Eagles tied. Thus, the Bengals get 6.5 points, and the Bengals win that game, and Lou covers. I took the Titans minus 2.5 over the Vikings, and the Titans barely hung on and won 31-30. Obviously, meaning I didn't get my cover there. So I am 1-2. Lou is 3-0. Winners to the victor goes the spoils. Why don't you make your first pick? Tell us who you're taking for your spread here.
Yeah. So put your money where your mouth is the one. It's our one. It's sort of our almost quasi lock of the week, even though there's no such thing as a lock of the week. It's the closest thing we have to it. So it's basically taking the points. We use all of our points courtesy of the DraftKings Sportsbook. And so this week, hopefully, I'm less confident this week than I've been in the last 3 weeks. So this was a tough week for me. And I decided on taking the Saints -4 at the Detroit Lions. And I think that the Saints are going to win. I think that the Detroit Lions beating the Cardinals this week was sort of fluky. And I think the Saints are going to be angry about losing to the Packers and just stomp the Detroit Lions.
That's about as solid of a pick as there's going to be. I don't feel like there were a lot of slam dunks in this one.
Yeah.
Although we'll look back at the end of week 4 and how could I have not seen that? But that's either way.
Yeah.
My pick this week, also kind of a risky one, taking the Broncos -1 at the Jets. This is more about me thinking the Jets are hot garbage. And the Broncos, I know they're going to Brian Rippon.
I was going to say, they're on their brand new quarterback.
And everything like that. They're without Cortland Sutton, but this is just how bad I think the Jets are. And I guess we're going to see. So, and it's not like they're all they have to do is win the game, right? If you win the game by 1, I cover. So I believe the Broncos can win this game. And so that's where I'm picking the Broncos.
I saw that game and I was just a little apprehensive because it is the only televised game, and like we've seen sort of with the Jaguars, where even if the front office is tanking, and I'm not saying the Jets are tanking necessarily. They're sort of unintentionally tanking, but there is some pride that these are all professional athletes, and they do have some pride. So I feel like being on prime time, the Jets might, I don't know how, but somebody might show up and just and surprise the Broncos by just saying, we have to win something.
This is an early season Trevor Lawrence Bowl because the Jets are 0-3 and the Broncos are 0-3, so maybe both teams will be trying to lose. I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely got toilet bowl written all over it.
All right, so as far as our week 4 matches, just give us this week, Lou went 10-5-1. I went 10-5-1. So we both have a 35-12-1 record. That one is the tie because I wasn't sure how to quite.
Bengals.
Yeah. So I was just like, guess we'll call that a push. So
okay, let me just ask you really quick. So at the end of the game, I'm curious what you would have done. So Doug Peterson, they had I think it would have been a 59-yard field goal try, and then they had a false start, which is just incredibly dumb. How you false start at that point? I know that the defensive line shifted and they jumped, whatever, but it would have been a 64-yard field goal attempt, or they basically kind of gave up and punted and sort of conceded a tie. So if they went for the kick and they missed, they would have been giving the Bengals not great field position, but decent. They still have to make a good pass or two with very limited time to get themselves into field goal range. So, what would you have done in that situation if you were Doug Peterson?
Well, see, I have to remember how much time was left in the game. I think it was about 16 seconds, if I remember correctly.
Very little.
I think I probably would have punted. If I had Justin Tucker as my kicker, one of these amazing all-time great kickers, I'll go in for 64. But knowing that I don't have, I think Jake Elliott is there, the Eagles kicker. I don't know what his career long is or anything like that. So that, admittedly, I don't know that much about the Eagles kicker. I think I punted and I think I would have just taken the tie because it would have been worse to me to miss the field goal and then have Joe Burrow complete a 15-yard pass with 2 seconds left or something like that and kick a field goal and win the game. That would have been worse.
Yeah, I mean, I guess obviously hindsight is 20/20, but I think Herm Edwards comes to mind. You play to win the game, and it's hard to think.
That's a good impersonation.
Yeah, it's hard to think that in a team that's obviously struggling to not try and at least go for the win is. You don't have a great shot, but you have a better shot than if you just give up. So, I think I would have went for it, but. Doug Peterson, to my credit, by the way, Doug Peterson did say after the game that he would have done things differently if he had the chance to do it over again.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's 64 yards is not a chip shot.
Yeah.
So neither is 59. So if you were willing to go for it at 59,
right?
I don't know. That's the one good point too, because I don't think I would have kicked it at 59. So,
okay, moving on. Time. Let's focus on week 4 and let the past go. Week 3's done.
All right, so we're both 35-12-1. I'm just going to run down the games like we normally do.
Yep.
You give me your pick, I'll give you my pick.
And this is just wins, losses.
Losses. No spread, nothing.
Yep.
Thursday Night Football, Broncos at Jets.
I mean, I know I said what I said before, but I'm still taking the Broncos. I can't pick the Jets. And I knew that was coming, and I wasn't going to say anything. But I could see the Jets winning, but I don't see it enough to pick them.
Yeah, you can't pick the Jets. No, it's definitely Broncos. Colts at Bears.
I think this game is going to be sneaky good because these two teams are sort of. It feels like this game could end in a tie, and I'm almost tempted to call it, but I
would give you 2 points if you call a tie and it is a tie. You get a win there.
I'm gonna take the Bears. I think especially if Nick Foles is starting, Foles, don't sleep on Foles. I think he's proven it time and time again. Give me the Bears. And also the Bears defense, I think, is going to pick off
Phillip Rivers
1,000 times.
I'm not a big Foles fan. I think he's overrated, but at the same time, he has gotten it done. In certain spots and in moments. I believe in the Colts. I said that they were a dark horse Super Bowl favorite in the beginning of the year. I can't back off that right now. Certainly not after 3 weeks when they're 2-1. So I'm going to take the Colts.
I mean, they did beat down the Jets pretty good, but then again, we could probably do that too.
Yep, I was just thinking about getting back our old flag football team together, see what we can do against the Jets. All right, Jaguars at the Bengals.
Oof, give me the Bengals. Game. Jaguars have some fight in them, but I think the Bengals are a better team.
I'm going to agree with you. I was leaning towards the Jaguars, but I think at home the Bengals are going to get that first win and kind of get something to celebrate about here. All right, here we go. This is a test of fandom here. Browns at Cowboys.
Man, this is
not tough. Come on.
This Browns at Cowboys. It's the battle of the underachievers. I mean, wow.
The Browns are 2-1. The Browns are 2-1 right now, so we shouldn't. They lost to the Ravens, which is no crime. So
yeah, I mean, but it was convincing.
Yeah.
Man, give me the Cowboys, I guess, because I believe in Baker Mayfield about as much as I believe in Dak Prescott, which is to say that I don't. And I think that the talent of the Cowboys is going to I think that the Cowboys are going to find a way to actually win this one.
Dak Prescott's thrown for almost 1,000 yards in 2 games. He still can't buy any love from Lou.
Nope. Yeah, you know what? Buy my love wins.
Fair enough. All right, Saints at Lions.
Saints.
Yeah,
I think the Saints bounce back in a big way.
Yep. And obviously you picked them to cover. So,
yep.
Steelers at Titans.
Wow, that's a great game. The Titans are good, but they're just the kings of field goals, and I think that the Steelers score touchdowns. So give me the Steelers. Give me the Steelers in like a weird. Not that this matters, but just as a side note, I think it's going to be a weird score. It's going to be like at 21-9 or something. It's going to be something ridiculous.
Yeah, I almost took the Steelers as my put your money where your mouth is. I had a point spread of 1.5 here, but I think it was different on another site, so I moved on. But yeah, give me the Steelers. I think the Steelers are clearly the better team. The Titans have been barely holding on to win against borderline mediocre teams.
Yeah.
All right, Seahawks at Dolphins.
Seahawks, come on.
Yeah. Listen,
No Fitzmagic this week.
Yeah.
I think Jamal Adams puts Fitzmagic to bed. I think the trick is going to be making the Seahawks win total appear larger.
I actually don't think that there's necessarily I'm sure Fitzmagic will have a big game. It's just the Seahawks they're going to score like 45 points, and then there's going to be garbage time where the Fitzpatrick throws 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter when it doesn't matter. More
touchdowns or interceptions this week?
Oh, more touchdowns. The Seahawks defense is terrible this year. Right?
Jamal Adams is fantastic.
Jamal Adams is fantastic at tackling, and I also think, I'm not sure if he's going to play this week. I thought he was injured. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I just remember reading that he was injured or he's hurt. So, either way, moving on.
Right.
We still pick the Seahawks, so.
Yep.
Chargers at Buccaneers.
That's going to be a great game. Justin Herbert looks good, but Tom Brady looks better. Give me the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean, it's cute to try and pick the Chargers, but it's the Bucs, especially at home. Here's another one that's easy. Ravens at Washington.
Yeah, give me the Ravens.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a joke about it's not even worth it.
Oh, so just a little update. According to news report yesterday, the Seahawks may be without Jamal Adams on Sunday.
Oh, man. All right.
So, yep. Cardinals at Panthers.
Cardinals.
Yeah. Cardinals had a disappointing loss last week. I think that they kind of like a wake-up call. Hey, we can't just mail it in because we think we're better than the team. We have to go out and perform. They're going to come out and stomp on the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, the last Lions win was October of last season. So I feel like, just playing by the odds alone, they were bound to win something, and they eked it out with the last-second field goal. So I don't think I think that's more of an anomaly than not. And the Cardinals are going to be just fine.
Vikings at Texans.
Wow. Battle of the bad. Give me the Vikings. I think the Vikings. I do not believe in the Texans.
All right, I've got the Texans here as this is only our second one that we're different here. I just think the Texans have been playing bad teams, and it's been making them look worse than they actually are. The Vikings are just bad. I've been playing good teams, yeah. And making them look worse than they actually are. The Vikings are just bad.
I don't know. See your boy Justin Jefferson.
He did blow up. I was getting pretty excited over here. He was on my bench in fantasy, not doing me much.
Mine too.
Good there.
Yep.
But I very happy that he took a step forward. All right, Giants at Rams.
I was going to say it doesn't even matter who the Giants are playing.
Yep.
The Rams.
I've already written your answer down.
Yeah, Aaron Donald is going to eat Daniel Jones.
This next one might be the key.
By the way, just watching that Bills Rams game, there was a sack that Aaron Donald had where he threw a 240-pound Josh Allen to the ground like a rag doll. Aaron Donald is freakishly strong.
I mean, there's a reason that they basically vote him the best player in the NFL every year. I mean,
every week I see it, I'm like, oh my God, he's just ridiculous.
And to think he got picked after Odell Beckham Jr. in the 2014 draft? I forget which draft it was, but he was after.
Whoops.
Yep. All right. This is probably the game of the week here, although it's a 4:00 game. Patriots at Chiefs.
Oof. Give me the Chiefs, but I think it's gonna be closer than we expect.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs. It's hard to pick against them right now until someone beats them. I think the Patriots will have a good game plan, but we have Patrick Mahomes, you can't game plan for that.
I mean, Stephon Gilmore. I mean, he got put in his place with DK Metcalf, so I think keep in mind, that's going to be something that Andy Reid pays close attention to.
Bills at Raiders.
This game is going to be really good. I'm going to go with the Bills, and it's at the Raiders. Well, home field advantage isn't really that big of a thing, it seems like, this year, for obvious reasons. Give me the Bills.
Yeah, as much as I want to take the Raiders, it's not like it was on Monday Night Football where against against the Saints a couple weeks ago, where they're opening the new stadium. The Saints are without Michael Thomas. The Bills are just rolling right now, so the Raiders are going to get crushed underneath that train. All right, Sunday Night Football, Eagles at 49ers.
Oof.
Now, before we just jump to pick the 49ers, Nick Mullins may be starting that game for the 49ers. They may not have Raheem Mostert back. They may not have George Kittle back. That all said, I'm taking the Niners.
Well, I mean, we saw basically the practice squad for the 49ers embarrass the Giants this week. Nick Mullins looked like Joe Montana. George Kittle, who? I mean, Jerick McKinnon, suddenly is back to
Jet McKinnon now.
Yeah, Jet McKinnon. And Brandon Ayuk looked really good. I mean, he played really well. So I think even with Nick Mullins, give me the 49ers.
Yeah. It's hard to confidently pick the Eagles right now to win a game. It's just because if you can't beat the Redskins, who can you beat?
Well, what's funny is
the Washington football team.
With all of the injuries that the Niners have sustained, with the team that they put on the field against the Giants, every single one of them would be a starter on the Eagles.
All right.
Except Nick Mullins.
Yeah, except Nick Mullins. Well,
maybe.
Let's see how long Carson Wentz goes.
Yeah, give
all right.
it 2 weeks.
All right. Monday Night Football game, Falcons at Packers.
Packers.
Yeah, I was trying to create a narrative in my head that the Falcons could win, but I feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to throw like 5 touchdowns. Like, it's going to be ugly.
Falcons will go up 21-7, and then they'll lose 48-24.
Yeah. So that's our picks. We only have 2 differences this week, so it's going to be tough for one of us to gain too much. The differences are the Colts at the Bears. You have the Bears, I have the Colts, and you took the Vikings, I took the Texans. Everything else is the same.
Yeah, I mean, we both have winning records, so obviously whatever we're doing, we're doing pretty good at. So,
all right.
But all right, so that'll do it. Yeah, I mean, that's a good show so far, and that's good because we're done. So you can follow us along, just to kind of recap, we can follow us along in the iHeartRadio podcasting app. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, the newly formed Amazon podcast, which is exciting. You can follow us along on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram at the Benchwarmerz Podcast. We are on Twitter at the BW Pod. You can email us at the Benchwarmerz Podcast at yahoo.com. Benchwarmers with a Z. So for Jose Ortiz and special guest, the cricket in your house, Jose, I'd like to say thank you, and we'll see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.